I'm Brian, and welcome to another episode of Magic Arena. So, in today's video, I'm going to introduce to you an Azorius control deck that I'm currently working on. It is based on a very old design, the Counterpost blue-white control deck, which tries to counter opponent's spell, destroy whatever they have on board, and then just once the game is under control, they will deploy a land that can continue to produce a string of 1/1 tokens to win the game. So let's take a look at the deck. In the deck, we have 10 different removal spells, 4 Skyclave Apparition, 4 Doomscar, and 2 Elspeth Conquest Staff. Between all these, I think every kind of permanence can be dealt with if they resolve on the board. Particularly the importance of Doomscar here, which is a new card from Kaldheim. Very powerful. It allows you to play a Wrath of God effects for 3 mana. So once, which is very important, I'll explain it later. Let's take a look at the counterspell suite. We have 2 Distressful Stroke, 2 Essence Scatter, 2 Negate, and then 4 Soil Coming. So 10 counterspells in total. These counterspells can all be made to play for 2 mana. So even with Soil Coming, which you can foretell, and then with a foretell cost of 1 and a blue, you can cast it. So once you can hold out 2 mana, you can just counter whatever your opponent plays, and then life is good. But what is more important is that when you have Doomscar, and then you just foretell the Doomscar, and then when you reach turn 5, you play your 5th land, you can just 3 mana sweep the board, and then hold out 2 mana as well to counter the next threat that your opponent is trying to resolve. And once that is dealt with, you can have an empty board where you can maybe deploy your Planeswalker, or maybe you can do other stuff, try to dig for other cards to deal with their next threats. So 10 counter spells, 10 removal spells. The win condition. So win condition number 1, Castle Ardenfell. We've talked about it. The previous, the classic version is the Geldoran Outpost. So which allows you to put manas into it to create 1/1 creature tokens. Castle Ardenfell is the same. So for 2 and 2 white, you can untap this land, you can create a 1/1 white human creature token. For a total of 5 mana, you can pump out a token. Sounds very expensive, but in this deck it is not, because you make a lot of land drops, and then when you are holding a lot of mana, you can always holding a counter spells, or try to cast a removal spells, have enough mana as well. And once you have enough mana and you don't have to counter something, you can use this Castle Ardenfell to make a token to try to attack your opponent's life total. The second win con here is the Shark Typhoon. I'm less sure about these win conditions actually, because Shark Typhoon obviously very powerful. It doubles its duty as like a removal spell as well, because you can cycle it for a big shark and then just ambush your opponent's attacking creatures. Very powerful card. So because of this, it is still in the deck as a 2-off. Okay, other spells, 3 Birth of Meletus, trying to get to you the second white mana. So for this deck, usually you only need 1 blue to operate, kind of. Of course, Nicol Eris is 2 blues, but other cards like Cycling Shark Typhoon or other kind of spells can be played for 1 blue colored mana. But for the deck to work perfectly, they need double white frequently, like Skyclave Apparition, Doomscar, either the normal version or the Foretell version, and then also Elspeth Conquest Staff as well. So the deck really wants to make sure that you can have a two white mana available, or else the removal suite simply does not work. Okay, two Glimpse of Freedom. This is mostly for rogue matchup, where they just mill your Glimpse of Freedom into your graveyard and then just you shrink them with the escape cost. But also, if the game goes long, it can become your draw engine as well. So when it goes long, you can like every turn just escape 5 cards out of your graveyard, 5 cards out of your graveyard, and then in the course of like a couple of turns, you can draw like 3 to 4 cards. Very powerful card indeed. Omen of the Sea. So if you hold out 2 mana counterspells, and sometimes you simply have no use for them, and then you are not in the immediate danger of dying to an instant like a flare from the cycling deck, then you can try to cast Omen of the Sea, scry to draw a card. It helps you dig into your deck for answers as well. I think if the deck can play 6 Behold the Multiverse, I think it is just 6 Behold the Multiverse. But Omen of the Sea has its place as well. Also, the sacrifice, the enchantment to scry to will sometimes come up as well. If you are really digging for answers, the scry can help you. Alright, Behold the Multiverse. This is another new addition from Kaldheim as well, which makes the deck very powerful. You can foretell it for 2 mana, and then with 1 and a blue, you can cast it. So basically, you instead of pumping 4 manas in total, you usually just foretell it on turn, like say turn 4, so that you can hold 1 of whatever mana and then 1 blue. If you are seeing a spell that is worth countering, then you just counter it, right? But if you do not find one, then you can simply cast for its foretell cost to dig for maybe your 5th land, or dig for a removal spell if you need one, or even dig for a counter spell to try and then resolve a Doomscar and then to hold up a counter spell. Nickel Errors is the latest edition of it. Previously, I played with this deck and I did not have Nickel Errors. I'm not sure how it performs, but he is the Azorius control or Planeswalker of choice, right? So I'll try to use it to see how it functions in this deck. I've seen it is quite impressive in other Azorius deck. So basically what you do with it is with its second -1 ability, you can kill off small creatures that have attacked you. So it also can create shard tokens, either by pumping a lot of mana into it or by -1. Sometimes you just want to play it for 3 mana, kill the creature, force your opponent to attack to it, and that's it. But if the game goes long, you can just resolve pump a lot of mana into the X cost and then resolve a big Nickel Errors. It gives you a lot of shards. That way, you can just gain control of the game in a very short time. You can draw a lot of cards, you can scry, and then your opponents will be way out of the game by then. Also, the +1 ability is relevant in this deck. The only legitimate target for the +1 is the Skyclave Apparition. So what it does is that after 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. So if I have Nickel Errors and Skyclave Apparition, I can +1 targeting it. It attacks. My opponent is unable to block it because it is unblockable. When it deals damage, it deals 2 damage, and then it is returned to my hand. Of course, my opponent will get the illusion tokens once the Skyclave apparition leaves the battlefield. However, at that point, I can either sweep the board with a Dome Scar, or I can replay the Skyclave apparition again, targeting another opponent that I really wanted to remove from the battlefield. So with Nickel Arrows and Skyclave apparition, it can become a soft lock of a sort to lock opponents from ever having permanents with converted mana cost 4 or less on the battlefield, because you just each turn you just bounce it, attack, bounce it, and then just remove another threat. Okay, so that's the deck. Others of note is that I have one Castle Ventress as well. When the game goes long, the Scry tool will sometimes come into play to help you dig for cards as well. So it is here in the deck. Alright, let's jump into the game, see how this Azorius control performs in the current standard. Okay. Alright, let's see. Jordan plays. Okay. I go first. My opponent does not have any companions with it. A little flooded, but I think this will have to get us there. In either case, I can just sweep the board. I try to keep. Okay, at this point, because we start first, we can Birth of Meletus first. If you are on the draw, I'll usually at this point, if it is between the... Okay. I instantly regret my choice. What I'm trying to say is, if you are on the play, you can play the Birth of Meletus or foretell the Doomscar. I usually will just go for Birth of Meletus, but if it is on the draw, I will just foretell the Doomscar first, and then on the third turn, if I didn't get the third planes, I will then cast Birth of Meletus to play it. But for now, maybe this is wrong, I'm not sure. I'll foretell here, and then put out the planes, and end the turn. My opponent has Magda. If it attacks, which he should, he'll get treasure tokens. Oh, and then a robot as well. Okay. Okay. He tries to kill my wall. Not sure why they do that. In that case... Alright, the choice is whether to foretell something and then just draw them into playing more cards before we sweep the board, but I think not. I don't want them to continue to tap Magda for to get treasures. Alright. It seems like this is the mono-red matchup. Okay. 5 mana. At this point, I can foretell to behold the multiverse, and then hold up Soy coming, the 3 mana, for Soy coming. Or we can just Omen of the Sea or Glimpse of Freedom. Or we can foretell this. I think we should just do it this way. Foretell this and then end the turn. Okay, what I'm trying to do here is that I can hold out Soy coming. Also, with the options to cast my Behold the Multiverse at if we don't have anything to play or to counter. Alright, my opponent is very aggressive. Against a board like this, I think we need to get to our next Doomscar. Okay, I'll allow my opponent to attack first. Okay, you got us. Oh, Annex. Okay. If they have Annex on the board, we are surely going to die because even with Doomscar, it will leave a lot of tokens on the board and then they just ever cleave it. So in this case, I will have to counter it. Alright, let's see. White. I would prefer to have Essence Scatter this instead, but what can you do? Alright. Not hitting the land drops is brutal actually. Alright. I can try to Behold the Multiverse or Omen of the Sea to get our land drops. Shark Typhoon cycles for free. It may be able to ambush a giant, but I'm not convinced. Maybe I can just Trump block, cast Behold, and then just Trump block. I'll need to make my land drops anyway. Okay. That is also good. I can play out the land, gain a life. We use the Skyclave Apparition to take out the giant, yes. Okay, now that we are tapped out, my opponents can resolve like okay, it is the possibility of an Evercleave, so 5 mana and then there is 1 attacking creatures as well, so it is a total of 6. Do we care to block? I think we don't block. Yeah. Let them have the cleave. You see? I have a cleave. Okay. We'll take 8. Go to 8. We'll need to find a solution to the Rimrock Knight. Okay, I'm not sure why they have a stick there. So it either implies they have a 0 mana spell or they have a land. Most likely a land, if I were to place my bet. Okay. So we have 7 mana. I can always cycle a Shark Typhoon for 5 to try and block this knight. Do we have other ways to deal with the knight? Yeah, let's try to dig for it, actually. Oof, not to land. Okay. The Disdainful Stroke. Alright, we are in a very hard position. At this moment, I can cycle for free and try to like block it. Okay. So let's see. It is very possible that we are going to die this turn. Okay. Alright, I guess. Alright, this is 8 damage. I'll use it to mitigate for 3 damage. That's 5, and then we just we go to 3. Maybe I should not have tried to dig for it with for an answer with the Omen of the Sea. We only have 2 copies of Elspeth Conquest Staff in there. That is the card I'm looking for, but now we are in a very difficult position. Alright. Let's see what our opponent steals. Steals a land. Okay. I will cycle for 3 the Shark Typhoon to try and block the Rimrock Knight. If they have a removal spell, then we are surely dead. They have the snow-covered mountain, so it is likely that they have the... Okay. Alright. We are going to 1. Okay, the next spell has to be a sweeper. It is not. Let's give it a try. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we are dead. Alright. Next game. Mono red for this blue-white control is a very difficult matchup. They have a lot of haste creatures. They can also destroy our blockers very well. With the snow mana base, they can have the I don't remember the name. They have the 1 mana to deal 3 damage to target planeswalker or creatures. So they have a little bit of upgrade in the Kaldheim standard. Alright. Let's see what our next opponent, who our next opponent is. Okay. Again, they're not using any companions. 4 land, Soy Coming, Doomscar. Shark Typhoon is okay. Keep. We are waiting for our opponent to decide whether to... Okay, and it's my turn. Always lead with a plane if you have the chance to choose between what lands you're going to play, because the deck really wants double white very early on. At this point, they have shown us a single white. I'm not sure what that is. It is unlikely to be the mono white aggro, but we are still going to foretell our Doomscar here first. It seems like I've met a certain version of like mono white good stuff deck that they have like these 2 mana creatures to 8 mana Ugin. Alright, let's see. I'm not very afraid of this Luminarchus Byrant. It is it can become big, but we can always sweep the board with Doomscar. And then once we sweep the board with Doomscar and have a counterspell backup, we should be doing okay. More Fabled Passage tells me that this is the... I suppose you can call it a big white. Alright. We might be taking a lot of damage, so what I'm trying to plan on is that if they don't resolve something that is very devastating, I can't figure out what they can play for, like 4 mana that is very threatening, or otherwise I'll just cycle a Shark Typhoon to try and block some damage, and then on the 5th turn we can Doomscar. Alright, this makes the Doomscar much more powerful. Okay. I'll let you gain it first. Alright, cycle for 2. Soak up some of the damage first. Okay, on the 5th turn. Doomscar, sweep the board. Try again. Okay, so we can have Soy coming as the counter spell if they play something that's very threatening. I'm not very concerned with the Giant Killer. They should. So yeah, and then they are stuck with 3 mana as well. We can see we have Omen of the Sea, so we can cast it at end of turn. More counterspell is good. Maybe we don't not need so much land. All right, Birth of Meletus. All right, try to thin the deck a little bit. We can also foretell it right now because we can't hold open 2 counter spells anyway. With the 4 mana. Humans you control get +1/+1. Tap 2 target humans you control and then play 2 to tap target creature opponent controls. Not very threatening. It is a very good anthem effect. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of human damage. So we will have the that is also good. So we will have the wall to try to block the Giant Killer for a bit. No big deal there. And also, you can see that we are now at 7 mana. 1 is tapped, so it's 6. We can start to pump out 1/1 human tokens if we have no use for the mana throughout our opponent's turn. I don't believe that's the case, but who knows? Alright. Are they trying to attack? No, they don't have it. Right now, if we try to make a token, it is not very useful because they can block it with a Giant Killer. So what we are going to do instead is we'll sacrifice this Omen of the Sea, try to line up our next draws for a bit. Maybe it's the wrong decision because we already know the Essence Scatter is there, and we are likely to play out the Favored Passage next turn. Oh, that's not what we are looking for, obviously. Okay, Favored Passage, we have gained 2 life, go back up to 15. With a healthy HP pool and my opponent not playing a lot of stuff, we should be in a very good place. And next turn, we are likely to start pump out the 1/1s, even if we cannot attack very effectively through this Giant Killer. And turn. Yep, the Giant Killer can try to do it that way, yes. Okay, instead we can try to make a chump block here. Okay, it immediately jumps to my turn. I think my opponent's hand is not very great, which is good for us. It is important to note that we should not crack Fabled Passage very early on, because you should crack the Fabled Passage and if you suspect that you will run out of basic lands, because this deck you really wanted to keep drawing lands to play out your turn. Alright, but we didn't. Alright. Okay. I'm not sure why my opponent is not playing spells. Maybe they are stuck with a lot of 4 mana cards. That is very odd. So we can now commence with making 1/1 tokens. Oh, they are not mono white. They're borrow stack. Oh no. Okay, in that case, let's see. How much land do we have? 8. This. Okay. In that case, we can spend 6 mana to cast it. Nicol Eris, I'm very excited. Okay. Alright, up to 1 target creature.
They won't even know what hit them.
Okay. Alright, my opponent, obviously they are mana screwed out of the game. But I think this is a very good way to demonstrate how the deck actually functions. They have a pretty good start. Luminarch Aspirant into another giant killer that they can start attacking, and then just pile on with Linden. A very aggressive start if they are playing a mono white deck, actually. But we are able to resolve our first copy of Doomscar, soak up a little bed of damage with a Cycled Shark Typhoon token, and then once we are keep hitting land drops and then resolve Nicol Eris. So this is usually how the Azorius control deck want the game to go. You can see that we have reasonable removal. If they play something like the god that costs 3 mana that is indestructible, we do not need to really have to counter it. Instead, we can just Elspeth Conquer Staff and then save our counter spells for something else. Alright. Let's see how long are we running. Okay, I think we can go for one more game here, and then we can go to the wrap up and I'll explain more about how the deck functions, certain card choices, and what I'm planning to make what changes I'm going to make with the deck. Okay, next contestant. Okay. It's very painful to have these 2 pathways here and Birth of Meletus, but you can see here that we have 2 lands and Birth of Meletus. So whatever lands we have, we can ensure that on the 3rd turn we can start to play out our Skyclave. It is also possible that on the 2nd turn we will be foretelling this Doomscar if our opponent is playing a very aggressive deck. Obviously, they do not have a companion to tell us what they are playing. skippable. Very good, actually. Okay, a black and a white. It could be not getting a land there is a little concern. Okay, seems like they are what you gonna call it? The shrine deck. In that case, actually, the Doomscar isn't going to work against a lot of their threats because they're just enchantments. In that case, I'll just foretell this story coming. Next turn, we can Birth of Meletus and then play out this tapped land, and then on the 4th turn, oh, my opponent is stuck on land again. We're in luck. But you can see here, I space out to foretell on the 2nd turn to make sure that either our Doomscar or Soy coming can. Oh, my opponent is not doing very well. To make sure that we have a Soy coming online. Let's see. In that case, we should. Okay. Alright, Skyclave Apparition to take out one of the shrines. If the shrine keeps draining us out, and it is not very good. My opponent seems to have kept a very greedy hand of just 2 lands and then just 5 spells. They now have the 3rd land. Yeah. But that is not gonna help them. Alright. But we are missing land drops ourselves as well. That is hard. In that case, I will foretell this one. So, what I'm trying to do here is that I understand they will not be stuck with mana anymore because they have this shrines that keeps giving them mana. So I will hold up counterspells in order to counter, yes, you guessed it, Sanctum of Climb Waters. This is the card that needs to be countered. They cannot be on the field. It draws so many cards for our opponent, so yeah. It draws out a counterspell. The stick means they have another land, obviously. Here is the Behold Multiverse. Of course, we can try to just directly cast it and then make our land drops here, but I'm afraid he will try to resolve another Center of Climb Waters and just get way ahead of us. So instead, I will continue to hold on this Saw It Coming. If he plays not a very important alright, the white mana tells me they have the 1 mana version of nothing. Huh. What can they have that has instant speed? What I'm trying to say is that I will use the Soy Coming to counter whatever threatening spells that they have, but they have not cast anything. So we'll Behold the Multiverse, try to look for land. Omen of the Sea, we may not need it, but the land we'll need. 2 lands as well. Oh, 3 lands in a row. In that case, I can't just bounce the Skyclave and replay it again because I want to Nickel Errors attack, bounce it back, give it a token, and then just eat their Center of Fruitful Harvest. Seems like that is not the case, so instead we'll attack. Also, we will foretell a Doomscar here. So the deck here is even if our opponent does not play creatures themselves, we can play Doomscar to destroy spirit tokens that the Skyclave is giving them. My opponent here tries to resolve a prismatic bridge, which tries to tutor up a creature or planeswalker card every single upkeep. Of course, it's going to get countered. Alright. Okay, in this case, I will... Let's see, should we... Alright, these attacks give them bounce, give us a 2-2, give them a 2-2, and then I'll just play it out and eat their Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. But I think that is not a very good idea. No? Alright, so instead I will play this with x equals to 1. And then up to 1 type creature is you. You can attack. Alright, so you can see here, it bounces. Give my opponent a 2-2 token, which is not very threatening for us. We have the wall to block it, and even if they somehow remove it, 2-2 token is not very threatening, and if the token number gets a little out of control, Doomscar can take care of it. My opponent may have guessed what is going to happen here, but I'm a little concerned because currently we do not have a counterspell at hand to stop whatever they are trying to resolve. We are lucky that we have the counterspell for the Prismatic Bridge. My opponent enters combat, decides not to attack with the illusions, and pass the turn. So in that case, I will... So there are some options here. We can cycle the Shaft Typhoon, but we don't get the tokens, obviously, because we don't only have 2 men. So instead, we do this. Scry and then draw a card. Not exactly what we are looking for. We are looking for counter spells. ECD is also good. The Essence Scatter here is not so good. Alright. Let's see. We can Skyclave Apparition, take out their Sanctum, but I don't think that is going to help us. ECD can take out like an uncountered Prismatic Bridge or something like that. Alright, yeah. Apparition, eat their shrines. I don't think they have a lot of shrines, and some of the decks play the Dance of the Mans to try to resurrect them, but it is not very good against our Skyclave Apparition because they are directly removed from the game instead of put into the graveyard, so they cannot revive them that way. Okay. Wait. In that case, we'll also make a shard.
Come on, stay sharp.
Alright. It could be concern. It could be a concern if. Alright. That is not a concern. Alright. It could be a concern if they resolve 2 threats here. We do not have the counter spells we are looking for. Okay, we'll sacrifice the shard. Not exactly what we're looking for. Not exactly what we're looking for as well. We got a Windcorn, but alright, we'll play the Birth of Melodies. The Birth continues to devalue over the game because planes will get thrown out of the game of the deck. Alright, we have the okay, I'll make another shard. this is not exactly a good place to be. No attacks. Alright, of course we now have much more mana. We can ambush Shark Typhoon with a cycling ability. Storms, Rev, and each Planeswalker. Sad, but I suppose okay.
See what I can improve now.
In that case, we can sacrifice to draw. Not another land, please. Oh no, that is also not what we're looking for. Alright, let's draw. That is not good. That is not good, I can tell you that. More Birth of Meletus. More lands into play. The 3/3 doesn't concern me, at least not right now. We need our answers ready against them. Do we play out this Nicol Aris? I don't think so. We ambush Shark Typhoon. It's most likely that they have some ways to deal with my Shark Typhoon if we try to resolve it as an enchantment. Alright. Oh, I'll have to discard a card as well. Alright. Then you can go. We have another backup here, and we do not have a lot of other counter spells. Oh no! Ugin! But it is not very useful, I suppose. You can shoot me for free, I suppose.
And you will grow lost to history.
Alright.
I will destroy if I must.
Okay, so he doesn't attack with the illusion because of the war. Alright. How much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, cycle for 5. Make 5/5 shark. Draw a card. You're a little late. Okay. At this point, we will ECD to take out the Ugin. That is one of their most powerful threat. It could be very devastating against a lot of decks if it is not countered because they can exile a permanence. But in this deck, the permanence that it is played out, aside from Nicol Aris, is not fair. They're not very. I mean, even if they remove an ECD from the game, it is not very devastating, and we also have ways to ambush it afterwards. Okay, I'll put on some more pressure. And I will foretell this as well. And turn. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is okay, resolve. They play the Storm's Wrath as a sweeper, which is pretty good. And they have Shattered the Sky as well. Sure. I did not try to stop them from doing that because I'm afraid of them resolving a threat here, but I don't think that is going to help them. Alright, let's see. Do we need another one? I don't think so. Okay. Okay, so my opponent is under a spell text next turn, or rather, this turn and the next main phase. And it is very late game already, so I'll just try to fetch the basic land from my deck as well. You can see here we only have 5 left in the deck. fetch an island in that case. Because they have resolved these two, the one enchantment that they can try to claw back into the game is because they are at 9, they will try to use the Stone Fangs to drain us to gain them life. I think we will Skyclave Apparition that one, allow them to have the mana. Whatever they can put out, like even Isika in the form of a Prismatic Bridge, they need to stay on the board for a single turn before they can actually do something for our opponent. So instead, we can just use Skyclave Apparition, and this turn it is not a very good idea to kill my Apparition as well, because the next upkeep I can return a creature from my graveyard to the battlefield. Alright, next I'll pass the turn to my opponent first before I do more talking. My opponent must be very annoyed why this person is playing so slow. But what I'm trying to say is see, we can try to distinguish stroke it, but I'm not sure it is the... Yeah, let's just say no to it. Let's play Omen of the Sea. Oh, Doomscar, I don't need to, but the Shark Typhoon is good. Okay, let's end and then go to my turn. In that case, I will just take Skyclave Apparition here, because we want a creature on the board. It also takes care of their shrine as well, so even if a shrine that is not dealt with, they will have much less impact, because they need a lot of shrines on the board before they can do quite a lot of good stuff. Alright, Clovis, God of Destiny. This deck is not very afraid of it, because we can just Skyclave Apparition it and then destroy. So the indestructible is not very meaningful to us. My opponent is planning to have to go to the upkeep, or let's see, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, yes. So you see, the Clovis needs to be in play for a whole turn before it can do something. How many manas do we have? 12. Okay. Make 10-10 sharp. Alright. Opponent should be out. Make this quick. Okay. Alright. That's good. Okay, so this matchup. And we advance to Diamond Tier 2 as well. We'll drop back at some point in the future. But what I'm trying to say is this Azorius control is a nightmare kind of matchup for this Shrine deck, because they cannot double spell very well. You can see that although they have like a cheap shrines that they can cast, they can cast it in a single turn, but it is kind of meaningless because the impact is very small. So you can see that I simply don't counter these shrines, and I just allow them to sit on the board, and until I have like enough apparitions, I then take them away. The truly threatening ones are the Sanctum of Climb Waters, which can draw them a lot of cards. In that case, you will they will have more threats than your answer. Our deck have like 10 counterspells. Some of them are not very effective against them, and then we also have like Skyclave Apparition and ECD as well. But if they are allowed to just draw through their deck, then they can just whatever, prismatic bridge, Ugin, whatever. Um, and you will let one slip through, and then you'll die because of that. But in this case, we can just, if they just play one spell a turn, we can easily like counter them, play like a, let's see here, the Beholder Multiverse, try to look for more answers, and even if we let slip some of the cards, like the Prismatic Bridge or the Center of Climb Waters, we can instead deal with it with Skyclave Apparition, so they gain no benefits from it. Yeah, so this pretty much demonstrate what this Azorius, this design of Azorius control can deal with. Alright, let's go to the wrap-up session. If we can get to it. So more on the deck is that it has a little bit of problem dealing with mono white and mono red. They are very aggressive decks in the meta. Let's see if I can show you. Okay, so you can see that mono white and mono red is the most played deck in the current standard meta, followed with Dimir Mill. I don't think that Dimir Mill is a very horrible matchup. We can deal with their threats easily, and their counterspell can be overwhelmed by our own counterspell as well. And then once we start to play ECD, Skyclave Apparition, take out their threats, they can try to mill us, but then we also have Glimpse of Nature to try to thin our graveyard as well. So I would say a little bit of a 50-50 matchup right now. Mono red is very bad against us. I mean, we are very bad against them because they can play a lot of threat with haste. So even if we deal with them like say Doomscar, they can already like a Robber of the Rich, then they have already deal the damage. A resolved Embercleave is almost game over for us. You can see that in our first game. So it is a snapshot of how a typical mono red game is going to be like. They just play. They didn't play. I don't believe they played a 1-drop. No, but they just 2-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, Annex, force you to counter it, and then continues to attack you with the 2/2s, and then even if you sweep the board, it means nothing because they have enough creature with haste to attack you. Mono white life gain, their nut draws are just unbeatable, like 1-drop, and then just what is that called? Let's check it out. Or maybe not. They just play the the dog that gives indestructible, and then the second turn they play a 2-drop and then 3-drop. Very aggressive deck, and then they just Skyclave more of the Skyclave. That way they can quickly end the game. Also, they have a new addition of the 2/4 Valkyrie that allows them to go to 27 life and then just give their whole team +2/+2. Powerful threat that is very cheap to play. It is a little bit more susceptible to Doomscar because the creatures does not have haste, but they have the dog that gives indestructible. So even if you Doomscar, they can like sacrifice the dog and then protect something, and so the Doomscar is not a permanent solution to it. The deck can play around it, they just try to Skyclave app their dog first, and then and then sweep the board afterwards. All right, let's talk about the deck. All right, I've explained it to you. We play 10 counter spells, 10 removal spells, 10 of the removal spells, out of which 4 of which is a sweeper, and then we also play a bunch of draw spells, and then we have Nicol Eris as the Planeswalker. I can say this because if you are starting to build a Azorius control deck, Nicol Eris feels pretty good. I've just because this card I actually just crafted before this. I created this video. What it is before, I don't remember. Let's see what odd. I believe I've taken out one Birth of Meletis and one other card that I don't really remember what that is, to put into Nicol Eris. It feels very good. The potential of his +1 ability to keep bouncing the Skyclave and then remove the opponent's cheap permanence is very real here. Also, at worst, you can still just -1. He gives you a shard token. Your opponent has to figure out a way to deal with him because they really don't want a Planeswalker to sit on the field and starts +1/+1 and gain a lot of value that way. So cards that are very good. You can see Disdainful Stroke doesn't play a very good role here. Let me put it this way. Out of the out of the 4 different types of counter spells, Disdainful Stroke, Essence Scatter, Negate, and Foresight Coming. I believe the Foresight Coming is untouchable in this deck, even if it is a 60 card deck, because it is simply a catch-all answer in the form of counterspell. It is also, after being foretold, can be cast for 2 mana. Very, very important in a lot of matchups. You can see that we are a little skimmed on land sometimes, and we still can foretell it. The double blue means nothing because once you foretell it, it is a single blue spell. What I'm not so sure of is these 3 here. I believe 6 of these counter spells is correct, but whether it should be 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Essence Scatter, and then 2 Negate is right, I'm not very sure. Of course, why I featured it with a little bit with the numbers here, but I think still the starting point of 2 for each is pretty good. It never is a very dead card. You can see, well, of course, Essence Scatter, you can see is a very dead card against our Shrine opponent. But other than that, it can be the 2 mana counter spell once we resolve a 3 mana Doomscar on turn 5 to stop the opponent from putting creatures back into the battlefield. So it is good that way. Negate is also fine as a catch-all for different kinds of cards. There are some must-answer threats. Like in the red deck, you need Negate to kill, say, Embercleave. Obviously, sorry, I'm trying to find what cleave, Embercleave. In the Gru version or the mono green version, you have the Great Henge, which is an artifact that comes into play. You can tap it for mana to gain and then gain life, and then also when it sits on the battlefield, each creature spells my opponent casts will result on No, it's not creature spell. It's when a creature comes into play under that player's control, he can put a +1/+1 counter on it and then draws a card. These are the must counter spells as well. Of course, there are Showdown of the Skulls, which is a new card from Kaldheim. That's 4 mana saga that removes 4 cards, the top 4 cards from opponent's library, and then they can play it for like a couple of turns. It generates a lot of value, and they can quickly overwhelm our removals or counter spells as well, and rebuild that way. So negate is a good catch-all here. Disdainful Stroke. This one is the most unsure part of the counter spell suite. Uh, Originally, it is not a one form of counter spell. I've put 2 Omen of the Sun here. Because the Azorius control deck I start with almost resemble more like a Yorian control deck instead of like a true counterposed Azorius control. And I but after I saw the success of the Is a Dragon deck, which is a very powerful deck, I can see that they have deployed a Disdainful Stroke. I think it is the original idea of LSVs to have it there. I'm not sure if he still plays this Disdainful Stroke in his current version of it, but I've played with it. It performs much better than the Omen of the Sun. Of course, Omen of the Sun can give you a better matchup against mono red, because when it comes to 3 mana, it comes into play. It's like Omen of the Sea, but instead of scry 2 and then draw a card, it gives you 2 life, and then it gives you 2 1/1 tokens as well. So but after I swap it out, swap the Omen of the Sun out and replace the with Disdainful Stroke, it has cards like Ugin, Showdown of the Skulls, of course, Ambercliff, Great Henge, whatever the spells that you can't allow to resolve, Disdainful Stroke can really stop that. So these 3 counter spells I think have the most rooms to try to fidget. If you have a lot of problems with a lot of creatures, then you can of course up the number of Essence Scatter and then just pull down the number of maybe Disdainful Stroke or Negate. Or if you run into like a lot of Teamer, ramp and things like that, then more Negate, more Disdainful Stroke, of course, is going to be better. You can also see here that the Shark Typhoon is pretty good in this deck as well. If you are starting out with building this Azorius control on a budget, I think you have 1 Shark Typhoon in the basic deck that they gave you, so you can just spend another rare wild cards here to create the second copy of it, and it is enough for use. Most deck plays 4 copies. I would say if it is a Yorian list, you have 80 cards, then 4 copies is obviously okay. But for this deck, it really wants to have enough numbers of ECD, Doomscar, Apparition, and also enough numbers of counter spells here as well. So 2 copies is the right number for me for now. I'm not sure if I will reduce the I don't foresee I reduce the number to 1 or even none. But also I didn't expect to up the Shark Typhoon to like a 3 off or even a 4 off quickly, in at least in this deck. Doomscar obviously very good. We didn't have the chance to see it in its full glory, but the Doomscar actually get me out of a lot of tight situations. Also, ECD and Skyclave app, you can see pulling a lot of weight in the matchup. Nico Ares, you can't go wrong with this one. If you need to spend a mythic wildcard to craft it, I think you won't be disappointed. Think about this. The most played deck right now is Yorion in the Azorius color pie, which is the blue-white combination. Nico Ares is very good with Yorion. You can +1 to put it to target Yorion. Yorion attacks cannot be blocked, and then it goes back to your own hand, and then you can play it again, and then you can blink all your trinkets, blink all your omens again for value. Very powerful card. You can also just play like a Sphinx Revelation, and then just draw you a lot of cards as well. That way. So, all in all, it is a very powerful Planeswalker. Also, I believe even with the rotation of Elspeth Conquest Death come September 2021, I believe, which is like 6 months, 7 months from now. The combination of instead of not of Skyclave Apparition and ECD, but instead is Skyclave Apparition and Nico Ares, I think can actually be a very important part of Azorius control come 2021 to 2022. So you can't go wrong with like crafting just 4 Skyclave Apparition and then 2 Nico Ares. Other cards, is there any flex spots? Birth of Melitus, you can get it from the basic deck already, so it is not a very big issue. Glimpse of Freedom, you don't really need to spend like 2 uncommon wild cards to try to craft it. I simply get it from, I believe, packs and some of the cards that they gave as a reward. But if you are facing a lot of rogues, Glimpse of Freedom can help you with that. Of course, if you are trying to just find a good draw engine, I believe Nico Ares is a lot better. I think Behold the Multiverse is better. Even more copies of Omen of the Sea can be a replacement for Glimpse of Freedom if you are not facing a lot of rogues, because they are just there for beating rogues, to be honest. Omen of the Sea feels very weak because compared Omen of the Sea to like a Behold the Multiverse, like scry 2 and then draw 2 is a very powerful, instead of like a scry 2 and then draw a card. A very big difference here, but it still pulls its weight. It helps us stick. Sometimes if you did not have the Birth of Melitus in your hand, the hand becomes unkeepable, you just have 2 lands, but instead you can play your second land, and then at the end of your opponent's maybe second or third turn, depending on you are on the draw or on the play, then you can play Omen of the Sea to in search for your third land. So it has a lot of flexibilities built into this card. I have not been disappointed playing it in any of the blue decks, to be honest. Alright, anything else? We didn't have a chance to see the Castle Ventress in action, so I'm not sure how good it is. If you really gimping on like these wild cards, you can skip the Castle Ventress first, but the Castle Ardenfell is a must-have and a 2-off. You don't need more than that. You usually can draw into them with all the Behold, the Multiverse, and all the Omen of the Sea and Glimpse of Freedom. You really need not try very hard, and it will just come out from the deck. Also, if they don't come, then there is always Shark Typhoon to help you cruise to victory. So in the future, I am looking to test a couple of cards actually. ECD, I have 2 copies here only. I think the correct number is 3, but I simply have not figured out what I should remove to put an extra copies of ECD in it. It is very useful. You can see with Sultai Yorion deck, they have like this indestructible serpent, Coma. Uh, so ECD is a very good card against that. Of course, it leaves tokens on the battlefield because of the Coma's ability. But it is a permanent solution. They usually have like 2 copies of Coma in it. So if you are playing it playing Azorius control exactly in this version, and you find out that your opponent is playing Sultai Yorion, then you will need the ECD to target specifically the Coma. If you spend it on like say a Yorion or other threats that you can deal with Essence Scatter or even Doomscar, then you lose the chance to deal with the Coma. And I've seen a lot of Azorius player lose out because of this. They just prematurely played the ECD in unnecessary situation, and that is a very wrong thing to be doing. What else? Okay, in the future I'm trying to up like this ECD to X3, giving us a little bit more flexibility, and we can more freely cast them on threats that that is commander mana cost 3 or greater. Also, I found out that with the addition of Nickel Errors, the third chapter of ECD also becomes very good. With sometimes if we reanimate a Skyclave apparition with no permanence on your opponent's battlefield, then it's kind of like a waste. But with the ECD targeting Nickel Errors with its third chapter, it can come back with four loyalty, and then you can just pump out shard tokens or go from there and then just start +1ing it to like bounce Skyclave apparition and stuff. What else? Another card that I'm looking to try is I haven't crafted yet. Cosima, God of the Voyage. So what this does is I'll read out the card first. Front side of the card is Cosima, God of the Voyage, 3 mana, a legendary creature god. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a Voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it and then draw X cards, where X is the number of Voyage counters on it. So with the front side, it is like a weird landfall triggers where you play it, and if your opponent fails to deal with it, then when you return to your next upkeep, you can exile the Cosima, and then when you start putting out lands, it can gain +1/+1 counters, and once you decide that it is time, then you can maybe you have played 3 lands and then maybe crack a Fabled Passage, then Cosima can return to the battlefield with a lot of +1/+1 counters. She can play the role of a blocker very well. Also, it can draw you cards. So this is another way to draw more cards in Azorius control deck, which is something that this deck is looking to do. Okay, the backside is the Omen Cube. So it is a 2 mana 3/3 legendary artifact vehicle. So what it reads is whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, the player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play lands from among those cards as long as they remain exiled. So what this does is that you just play two mana and then play this vehicle, and then you can see here is the crew 1. So you need a 1 power creature to activate this Omen Cube. So when you activate it, hits your opponent, exiles 3 cards from their library, and then from there, if they have lands exiled, you can play them. So it helps you hit the land drop very well. The problem is if you need to play Casima, then the deck will need a lot more creature counts instead of like currently, because currently we just have Skyclave Apparition, which we are not going to cast, like must cast on turn 3, because we may not have an appropriate target for it. Yeah, and that's it. Like, we can of course cycle a Shark Typhoon token to crew the Omen Kill, but that is not a very good way to do it. I think if we are going to play this card, I will also try to put back in the Omen of the Sun. So how this plays out is that on the second turn we can play the Omen Kill, and then on the third turn we can main phase play the Omen of the Sun, make 2 tokens, and then with 1 token tapped you can crew the vehicle and then attack your opponents to exile their library to start exiling cards from their library, and in hopes of looking for lands to play. Very powerful card. I think a lot of pro players have been looking forward to play with this card. I don't think there is a shell that uses it very well right now. I believe CGB has demonstrated Casima in his Azorius control and rogue decks as well. I don't think the rogue is the right home for this card, but is it? Is Azorius control the right home for this card? I think if we are to play Casima, then it moves away from the counterpost version of this deck, like just counters things and then just put Castle Allenfell. Instead, it becomes a much more aggressive style, like more proactive attacking, and I don't know, maybe a more tempo-y style of the deck. I'm not sure, but it will, with the addition of Casima, then the deck will change a direction again, but it is a very powerful card. I'm just not sure how we are going to fit into it, or maybe we can build another Azorius control deck, because I enjoy playing Azorius control very much. So anything else? I think this is it for the moment. I'll come back with my updated list in the future. Also, I may upload some of the gameplays against different matchups in my YouTube channel, so you can see the deck list in action as well. And also, if I made further changes to the deck, I will also upload another video explaining the changes and then just show you more gameplays as well. Thank you for. I think this video has gone for quite some time. Let's see. All right, it's yeah, I've overrun quite a little bit, but I hope you have enjoyed this video. It has been a little long, so thank you for sticking with me. So I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.